The following program frequently combines snark with clever innuendo. We really hope that you aren't offended. Really. We will even give you a safe space. There. Isn't that better? Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I'm your host, Joe Neerman, aka Good Lawgic. A lot of people wondered how Trump's convictions, this whole case, would play out for increasing or decreasing his popularity. How would he fare in the wake of having such a monumentous and clearly one-sided attack of unprecedented nature levied against him? That make him more popular, less popular? Some polls came out saying that, you see, people starting to turn on him. A lot of people on the left are trying to say that. I don't know. Maybe at one point that's what folks thought. Maybe some folks thought that would be how things would play out. It has not been. In all regards. So, for example, in the with respect to donations, apparently he's raised in the past, what they said, 72 hours since this thing came out, maybe a little bit more. That was as of this morning. He had raised over $200 million. $200 million, including $70 million from small donors, many of whom never donated to anyone before, and yet now are starting to wake up and say, my God, this is just a travesty. This is a disaster. This is awful. This is just unbelievable, inexcusable. In addition, according to polling numbers that liberal hive mind unearthed, apparently he's doing better in polls. He's even doing better in the polls already. And I actually project that this will be a trend that will continue, that he will become much more popular through the polls. My God, if they throw him in prison, if he actually gets prison time, this guy's going to get $500 million. It's not going to be. The machines are going to break. The calibrations in the machines, because they already broke the first day and they tried bringing him in there. The day he was convicted, apparently they had troubles with the machines as far as trying to just keep up with all the donations that were coming into him. I just wanted to get one clip here, one guy here who broke down the polling and how that's favored Donald Trump. And that's specifically from Liberal Hive Mind. So he breaks down here. You sort of got skip through the intro. If you're ever watching Liberal Hive Mind, whose work I like, you kind of got to skip past the first minute and a half and start a minute and a half in. The rest of it's pretty good. The rest of it is not too shabby at all. He broke down the polling numbers that have been coming out of late. I just realized that when I shared this earlier, you weren't gonna hear it. So maybe audio would be an improvement, Joe. Maybe audio would be an improvement. Break this down here.
Registered voters between the 31st to the 2nd of June. That's a massive poll over a 3-day period, essentially following the fallout of the verdict. And just take a look. National head-to-head 2024 general election results. Between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, Donald Trump still has a +1 lead, at least according to this poll. And keep in mind that a +1 lead nationally for a Republican heading into this electoral college, Democrats usually expect to win the popular vote by 5 or plus percentage points. However, this poll is projecting that Trump is still theoretically, hypothetically, winning in the popular vote, head-to-head nationally. Not exactly the devastating outcome that you'd expect after a candidate was...
Can you even imagine him winning the popular vote? When's the last time a Democrat won the popular vote? Can you even imagine him winning the popular vote? I'll tell you now. I think he will. I think he's going to win the popular vote. That's how much of a landslide I think this is ultimately going to be. I think he's going to win the popular vote.
Hit with a 34-count guilty verdict. Nothing's really changed at all. No surprise, I guess it's just the simple effect of diminishing returns, crying wolf over and over again. People expected the guilty verdict, and I guess the message here is that they don't care. Guilty or not, they want Donald Trump. And earlier I said no impact. Well, that's a lie. There has been an impact, because this Morning Consult poll, which was conducted from the 31st to the 2nd, is actually a polling update from the initial data that they collected on the 31st, which initially showed Joe Biden leading +1. In other words, following the verdict fallout and in an expanded survey, Donald Trump leapfrogs to the top. I'm looking for the devastation, but I'm just not seeing it. I keep seeing all of these polls, all of these leftoids, linking screenshots of news chyrons and headlines, data graphics and presentations showing a huge majority of Americans claim that they will never vote for a convicted felon. Well, that seems to be the daily propaganda, and I have no issue calling it that because obviously it's completely untrue. And just to make matters worse for the few leftoids that are watching, it's not just Morning Consult. We also have an INI TIPP poll and a Forbes/Harris X poll, both including the 31st in their survey dates. In other words, tapping into the post-verdict effect, and in both of those polls, Donald Trump made some pretty significant gains. If we look at the TIPP poll from early May, this is the 1st of May to the 3rd, Joe Biden was up 2, yet the latest poll shows a tie in the race. Then if we take a look at the last Forbes/Harris X poll, they were showing a 50-50 tie, a literal 50-50 split down the middle, but their latest poll has Trump up by 2. So far, the only evidence that we have seen is evidence that Trump is gaining nationally. And so far, the only polls that we're using to make that point, well, they're coming from pollsters who have a history of not exactly being favorable to the former president. Donald Trump's been performing rather poorly in most of the Morning Consult surveys that I've seen this year. So who can imagine what the Harvard-Harris poll, the Emerson poll, and the latest Rasmussen polls might show? Or even a CNN poll, the latest one that they conducted, Trump was up +6. Where's the devastating impact? Simply nowhere to be seen. In fact, it seems as though all they've done is essentially unleash Donald Trump with the greatest messaging platform he could ever ask for. They've pumped up his election bid coffers to the tune of over $200 million. The numbers are coming in, folks. After the official cutoff at midnight on May 31st, right after the verdict, after that huge cash inflow, the Trump team and the RNC announced the number is $141 million for the month of May, and that's not counting the first couple days of June. So a $200 million fundraising boost over the last month and a half, while Biden's probably pulling in around.
Because YouTube is aso.
40 to 50 million a month. Not exactly the devastating consequences they were hoping for. Trump still leads in Pennsylvania by 2.3 points. In a hypothetical head-to-head race, 3.2. If you introduce third-party candidates, he's up in the most important states. If he wins in Pennsylvania, it's game over. And now we're even seeing a possible scenario here where the state of Virginia is totally in play. Decision Desk, HQ's polling average for the state, has Joe Biden up by only 1 point based on an average of 16 polls. So many of these states are at Donald Trump's fingertips. They want you to believe that his electoral fate was sealed months ago, but everywhere I look is competitive, and some places that seemed off limits.
So things are looking good for him. I think that's what liberal hive mind's trying to say. I think that's what liberal hive mind's trying to get at here. Things are looking good for him. Things are looking good. Things are looking good. But that's not the end of it. No. That isn't even what I really wanted to focus on. Not the polling numbers. Not simply that. No. There's one other thing that I wanted you all to take a look at here, because this was just unbelievable to me. Unbelievable. Oh. Where are you? Oh, I know where I had this. I know where I gotta go. I need another minute. I thought I had it here, and I don't see it. I don't see it where I want it. I'm going to have to mute audio, because otherwise I'm going to end up getting all sorts of copyright garbage. All sorts of copyright garbage. We don't need that. After he got convicted, Trump started a TikTok account. Now, you might be familiar with the fact that TikTok is basically the land of the millennial. It's the land of the tweeners. It's the land of the children. TikTok. That's right. TikTok. Now, Biden and Harris have had their TikTok count up for, I think, over a year or so, posted 200 videos. He's posted one video. Now, you would think in TikTok, where you have all these leftist children there, all these leftist Kinderlach, all these leftist youngins who are so woke, so all about whatever is the newest movement, the newest cause, whether that newest cause is supporting people who have alternate sexual identities, or supporting people who want to stone those with alternate sexual identities, because they're really that loose when it comes to, like, I don't know, whatever's new and hip, I'm supporting that. So those kinder, you might think, hey, you know what? They're big Biden supporters, big Biden fans. You would think that, no one's going to be following Trump on TikTok. That's not going to happen. Well, they actually created a live counter, so we can see the difference between how many followers the Biden-Harris TikTok account has versus how many followers. Whoa, gotta turn that down. Sorry about that. Yeah, how many followers the Biden-Harris account has versus how many the Trump account has. So here is your live counter. And it's different than what it looked like before. When I pulled this up before, 5,368,000 to 357,000, for a difference of 5 million more people following his account. Ouch is right, Space Baby. Ouch. That's right. Sorry for the music. They had this music playing in the background there, which is just, I think it's meant for the TikTok crowd. But and it's certainly gonna get me copyrighted if I were to allow that to play. So yeah, this is the live counter. This is as of right this second, the difference between them, which is kind of cool. I mean, look at those numbers. The thing, like pinball machine. President Trump, Biden Harris is stuck at 357, 853, which I guess is it could be. This could just be following this could be tracking, instead of the live how many followers, it could just be measuring the differences in mental acuity, where it's how many novel thoughts are going through each of their minds over the last 3 days, or I guess since they opened their accounts. How many novel thoughts? This is crazy. You would not think kids would just be This is a kid platform. It's a kid platform. I'm not even following him there yet. Apparently, he made one video to 200 Biden-Harris videos. Oh my God. Yeah, so I'll tell you right now, I'm going to call it. I'm going to say he wins the popular vote. I'm calling it. Donald Trump wins the popular vote. If this is what he's doing on a tweener app, I think he wins the popular vote. Prove me wrong. Someone who won't prove me wrong is Go-Ho Shane, gifting 5 good Lawgic memberships. Welcome those new folks who were recently brought into the fold, courtesy of Go-Ho Shane. Who was brought in? You probably want to know. I probably should be able to tell you that, right? I should be able to tell you courtesy of Go-Ho Shane brought into the fold. Who'd you bring in? Who'd you bring in? Who owes you that gratitude? That's what I need to see. That's what I need to know. That's why I'll recognize them. Oh no, they don't want to tell me. They don't want to tell me. Well, if you were brought in, please express your gratitude, and please also bear in mind that I am not, I repeat, not the leader of the following. And the following is not at all a cult type of cult. Don't take my word for it. This is something that even artificial intelligence recognizes, that I am not the leader of any kind of cult or anything like that. Everyone understands that. This is something that's crystal clear. I have the proof. I have the proof. You want to know where the proof is? That's right. Grok. Grok is my proof. AI knows. Is Joe Neerman the leader of a cult? That's what someone asked him, and says, based on the information provided, there are references to Joe Neerman being associated with cult-like behavior, which is crazy too. References, but not necessarily as a cult leader, because I'm not the leader and it's not a cult in the traditional sense. Exactly. Thank you, Grok. Grok knows. The search results include mentions of Neerman in contexts that compare or contrast him with cult leaders or discuss his views on cults and their leaders. For example, a tweet by John Worster humorously suggests that Neerman's actions are reminiscent of a cult leader, while a tweet by NJH 2005 uses the phrase "not a cult" in a context that implies skepticism about such claims. I don't know if Grok can really distinguish between comedy and seriousness, because clearly anyone who said I'm not the leader of a cult was deadly serious. I'm not even the leader of the following, which is not at all a cult type of cult. So yeah, this makes it, if you would just join the following is just about personal growth, community, unity, leadership training. That's really what it's about. Just a bunch of like-minded folks. You know, maybe some lays, you know, LEI. Maybe a few of those every once in a while, but definitely not at all a cult. Not at all a cult. Are there any counter arguments to legal issues with Trump trials being made by the left, or do they prefer to ignore the details altogether? Oh, we're going to see Merrick Garland struggle with some of those questions. We're going to see some of those. I think it was Representative Kiley from California who did the best job of pinning him down on that. We're gonna see his questioning of Merrick Garland. So there you go. All right, not at all the leader of a cult. It's crystal clear. All right, what do we got here? What do I got here for you? Okay. So where should we start? In fact, you know what? We're gonna start with Kiley. I kind of like this guy. You asked that question. It's prescient. Today, Merrick Garland called upon by the House of Representatives to testify for the House Judiciary Committee. And he spent some time in the hot seat. We'll start here with Representative Kiley, putting him on the spot.
Good afternoon, Mr. Attorney General. You've testified today that you're not.
Oh, that's not loud enough.
A jury verdict in a state case.
No, that's definitely not loud enough. That's really not loud enough at all. No, I need much better volume than that. Plus.
General,
the Justice Department practice is always to say that we respect the verdict of a jury. That's our practice.
Okay, so in 2021, Derek Chauvin was convicted in a Minnesota state court by a jury of several felonies. Did you issue a statement after that verdict?
Yes, we always issue a statement.
Interesting question. So when Chauvin, he's saying, I'm not going to talk about this because it's a state case. I'm not talking about that verdict that happened over in New York there that some of you might want to talk to us about. I'm not talking about that because that's a state case. What does that have to do? I handle the federal DOJ. Why would you ask me about that? That's sort of crazy. That's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy for you to even think I would even know that case is happening.
And after the verdict, describing what the verdict was.
Yeah, this was a state case. Did you issue a statement following the state court conviction?
Oh, so now you're asking about Derek Chauvin, because we might recall that too was a state case. Whenever a lawyer is asking a question like this, you know the answer to this one is going to be yes. He did issue a statement about that case. You issued a statement about that case. That's where Kiley's going here. That's where he's going. Did you issue a statement? Because you're saying you won't talk about this case because it's a state case. Well, we see sometimes you talk about state cases.
I'm sorry, who is the person again?
Derek Chauvin.
Who? Who? Who's Derek Chauvin? I don't even know who is that? He was the defendant in that case? What was that case about? I don't remember anything about Derek Chauvin. Who?
Well, this was also a federal case.
Right, but this was before the federal case, and we got a verdict from the jury, and you issued a statement. Did you issue a statement, yes or no?
I don't know the answer to that. But
I have your statement right here.
We always describe the verdict.
I don't know the answer to that. Oh, you know the answer. You know the answer. You know the answer because that's why he wouldn't be asking the question if he didn't know the answer.
This is a state court decision from a jury, and you said, well, the state's prosecution was successful. I know that nothing can fill the void that the loved ones of George Floyd have felt. So you agreed with the decision.
It's not a question of agreeing. It's a question of a verdict was occurred. And
okay, but you said the prosecution was successful.
It was successful because it led to a successful verdict.
So would you say that the prosecution in People v. Trump last week was successful?
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so was that successful? Okay, so you call that successful. Why didn't you call this one successful?
Look, I guess by the definition of when somebody brings a case, if they get the verdict they ask for, it's successful without commenting on any particular case. And
you just said successful here. You said that in this case, the prosecution was successful. So in a similar vein, would you say the prosecution in People v. Trump was successful?
I'm going to say again, you're asking me a tautology. When a prosecutor brings a case and the prosecutor...
It's not with the totality. There's no totality. He's asking you, based on your definitions that you're applying to Chauvin, would you say that the prosecution was successful here?
Wins the case, it is by definition successful.
What if the case is later overturned on appeal? Is the prosecution successful?
We, of course, accept the decision on appeal, and then it's no longer successful.
So a successful prosecution is one where you get a jury verdict, and then it's upheld on appeal.
Yes.
You were very quick the day of the jury verdict to say that the prosecution was successful in the Chauvin case. Would you say that by that definition, in the same way, the prosecution was successful in People v. Trump?
You might not realize where he's going, but I know where he's going.
I'm not going to comment on that case.
Garland knows where he's going. Garland knows where he's going. What he's trying to pin him down on is, in case you don't know lawyer speak, which if you don't speak lawyer, good for you. Good for you. So if you don't speak lawyer speak, what he's getting at is you jumped out on the day that Chauvin was convicted, and we're championing that verdict as if it's a done deal all over. But you didn't do that over here. Why would you not do that over here? Is it not because you realize that that verdict was garbage and it's going to be overturned on appeal? So you didn't really congratulate them because you know that this is all hot garbage, meaning you know this entire thing was hot garbage. So Kylie is basically trying to pin him in here and make you point out that your own actions reveal that you think the Trump verdict is garbage. That's why you didn't congratulate the prosecution, because you're like, I know this one's not going to stand. I know this one's not going to stay up there. So, yeah, Chauvin, everyone knew that one's not coming down. That was a win the prosecution got that was not going to come down. But why would you know that it's not coming down in the Trump case? Why would you be so worried about it coming down that you're not going to comment about it unless you know when it comes out that it is lies, terrible law, awful law, easily assailable, easily ripped down from the history books and reversed, should be reversed, must be reversed if you actually care about law. And he realized that when it came out, that it was hot garbage, and that's why he didn't say anything. And that's why Kylie is pointing out the distinction between how Garland reacted to the Chauvin verdict versus how he reacted to the Trump verdict.
You can ask me 10 different ways.
Even though you're commenting on other state cases. I want to ask you actually about a federal case, an opinion that you wrote in your last year on the D.C. Circuit. It was called FEC v. Craig. Do you remember that case?
I don't, but if
involving former Senator Larry Craig?
Yes.
So Mr. Craig, of course, had gotten himself...
Now, you might not be familiar with a phrase called hoisted on your own petard. It's a great phrase. you should try to incorporate it into your vernacular there, because I'll tell you something. People look at it, and when you say it, people remember it. Hoisted on your own petard. And right now, Representative Kiley is about to pull out the petard and jam it inside. A petard is another word for like a short sword. Jam it inside Garland and lift him up, hoist him up on his own petard. Hoist him. Because we all recall that FEC law seemed pretty relevant in this Trump trial. He's about to talk to him about one of his own decisions that he issued when he was a judge.
In trouble for disorderly conduct in an airport bathroom. And he used campaign funds to fight.
Let's go back to the story here.
FEC.
You can ask me 10 different ways.
Even though you're commenting on other state cases. I want to ask you actually about a federal case, an opinion that you wrote in your last year on the DC circuit. It was called FEC v. Craig. Do you remember that case?
I don't, but if
involving former Senator Larry Craig?
Former Senator Larry Craig. What happened with him?
Yes.
So Mr. Craig, of course, had gotten himself in trouble for disorderly conduct in an airport bathroom. And he used campaign funds to fight those allegations. And he
used campaign funds to fight against allegations that he had some scandal.
Into your court and said that it was okay to do so because if he makes the allegations go away, that's going to help his campaign.
That's what he said. He's like, I'm allowed to use campaign funds to make problems go away. That's what he said to you, right? In other words, when you're trying to make problems go away to help win a campaign, are those campaign funds? Are they not campaign funds? And he said, yeah, sure, they are campaign funds because I ain't going to win if this scandal comes out. So, of course, I'm allowed to use campaign funds for that. And that was called before Judge Garland in his last year on the D.C. Circuit Court.
But you rejected that argument. You ruled that he should have used personal funds because the underlying conduct was personal in nature. Doesn't that rule of law that you articulated expressly contradict the theory of the case in People v. Trump?
Oh my! Take that petard and just It's like he's like that case is like a petard just jammed into him and just saying like, oh, your own ruling says that if you're trying to get rid of some terrible scandal, make it go away, cannot use campaign funds, and yet Donald Trump was just convicted because the monies that Michael Cohen used for him was purportedly campaign funds that he never reported. Your own ruling says that this whole case is garbage.
You can again ask me 12 times if you want about the comment.
You're not answering. That's why he keeps asking you. This is a new question.
On that case, and I'm not going to.
I have your opinion right here. It's a very well-written opinion.
I'm sorry. That case is an interpretation of the Federal Elections Commission Act. That's all we did in that case.
Right, and you're well aware that an interpretation of a Federal Elections Commission Act was at the core of the prosecution's theory of the case last week. I think the reason that you are so reticent about commenting here, Mr. Attorney General, even though you had a press release the very day of the verdict in past cases, is because you know your own very well-written opinion clearly shows that there was reversible error in this case.
Nice.
You testified earlier that
Well done. Well done. I like this guy. He's an up-and-comer. Remember the name Kiley. I believe he's from California. Remember his name because he's a smart guy. And, very well-spoken for a white person.
you have not made
I appreciate the compliment about my case, but it has nothing to do with...
You testified earlier that you have never made political contributions. Is that correct?
Well, I was a judge. I did not make...
How about before you were a judge?
I'm sorry?
Before you were a judge?
I think maybe 40 years ago, I made a political contribution.
To whom?
Well, it's public knowledge. I made a contribution to the Mondale campaign.
Okay, and if Mr. Mondale had come before you as a party, would you have recused yourself or would you have heard the case?
And I know now that for the 14th time, you're asked...
Kiley is spelled K-I-L-E-Y. You see up here in the corner? K-I-L-E-Y, Kiley.
And ask me
No, I'm not. I'm asking you about your own campaign
No,
contribution
you're
to Mr.
no, you're
Mondale.
not. You're asking me to comment on.
Now he's getting in case I've been talking over it and kind of making jokes. I kind of been making some jokes. Just because you never hear someone say that. And I was like, now you can say you have heard someone say that. You know, he's very well spoken for a white person. What he's getting in on now is that Judge Merchan had made donations to Biden. And then you had the whole issue with his daughter also. And that's not what I was saying. That's not what I was saying. Oh my gosh, that's not what I was saying. Best cult leaders are not first. Our cult model, growth through goat sacrifice. There's no goat sacrifice. That's how you know it's not true. Juicy moments are on the table in red plastic cups in the outer court. I don't even know what that means. I believe you, School Bob. Wasn't a lie back then. Is donating to Mondale tell for being stupid as hell? Yeah, Mondale's the one who lost in 1984. Like literally won Minnesota, and that's it, and DC, and everything else went to Reagan in '84. So he donated to Mondale. If there's ever a more loser waste of money, donated to Mondale.
The judge in the case under a different jurisdiction.
No, I'm not. I'm asking you about your own political contribution that you just said you made. If Mr. Mondale, who you donated to, had come before you as a party, would you have recused yourself, yes or no?
If 10 years later, or 20 years later, when I became a judge.
It's not a fair analogy, because the analogy would have to be because now you have Merchan donating to Biden. So the question is if Reagan had come to before you, because Reagan was running against Mondale.
It would have not made any difference. Judges put aside their political views, their personal views. Every justice.
But his point is just
Mr. Garland, you testified that you don't regret picking Jack Smith. Do you regret picking Robert Hur as a special counsel?
I don't regret. No.
And you testified that he has a long and distinguished career as a prosecutor. Rather, you said that when you appointed him. Do you stand by that?
It's a fact.
And you do not dispute his conclusion that President Biden willfully retained classified information. Is that correct?
Well, that wasn't his conclusion. He said there was evidence, but that the evidence did not warrant going forward.
I yield back.
So there you go. There you go. I told you it's going to be juicy. I'm giving you the good ones. I'm not going through the whole thing. I'm giving you only the good ones. Only the good ones. Although this one's like a little, it's okay. This one's not bad. His speaking style is not great. This is Biggs. We're going to see Biggs, Representative Biggs. He's also pretty good. He's pretty good. I'm saving the best one for last. Saving the best one for last. So I'm only going through 4. So this is the second of 4. I'm not going through all of these.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Attorney General, the reality is Mr. Hur, Special Counsel Hur, found that then former Vice President, President Biden, had retained and disclosed classified information. Isn't that true?
Mr. Hur has presented a long report.
Isn't that true? I mean, come on. I'm practically quoting right from it. You wouldn't disagree with that? I won't
disagree with. I'm not going to comment on his report. He sets forth. I
is
appointed
it?
him to investigate the
Okay.
allegations about classified.
Well, that's what he meant.
So the reason that we end up talking over you is because a simple question like that goes unanswered.
I love how he's like calling him out about how you're just bobbing and weaving and not answering any stinking questions. You're bobbing and weaving. You're bobbing and weaving, and I'm tired of it.
Allegations about classified documents.
So the reason that we end up talking over you is because a simple question like that goes unanswered. You're non-responsive. You're non-responsive to the question. Because that is what Mr. Hur found. And then he also found, and you're not going to like this because I'm going to quote from it. From this, he basically says here that he found Mr. Biden to be sympathetic and here he is, a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. And so he made a prosecutorial decision that he wasn't going to prosecute. Are you going to dispute that? You're not disputing that, are you?
Mr. Herr's report.
Okay, you're going to say it stands on its own. Okay, so
sorry.
it stands on its own. No, because you don't answer.
Just say
you're not
yes
intent on
or
answering.
no.
You want to be non-responsive. You want to
I'd
filibuster.
like to answer your question.
As slowly as possible.
Do you dispute that? So let's just face it.
It's a
Mr.
yes
Biden
or
has not been
no.
prosecuted, correct?
That's correct.
And the rationale given by Mr. Herr is because he was a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory, and he thought the jury would have sympathy towards Mr. Biden.
That was one of a long list of reasons that Mr. Herr gave for his decision. That
Give me one more reason.
One more.
He found that, look, I don't want to get into a discussion
Why
about
not?
this, but I will say one of them was that the president was completely cooperative in this matter.
So what? So what? That's like a guy basically steals like nuclear fission material, and it's like keeps in his house. And he's very cooperative in giving it back. So we're not going to press charges now. What the heck does that even mean?
That's the reason, huh? Okay, all right.
You asked me one of the reasons. That was one of the reasons.
The issue that we have here, you don't want to give us
the
the
woman
audio.
behind him like laughing. She's like, I'm on camera now. I'm on camera now. This is my moment. This is my moment. So I got the stress for this moment.
Videotape. You don't want us to have the recording. But ultimately, the issue is whether the transcript
Yeah, that guy.
actually supports the special
That guy.
counsel's determination. Now, your office has basically pled two things in court, claiming, number one, executive privilege, and number two, this kind of interesting novel approach saying deep fakes, AI. Right. Did they consult, did your staffer who filed that, did they consult with you about the deep fake AI rationale for not providing the audio to us?
Now, I just want to ask you. I've downloaded. Let me see if I have it. I've downloaded. Well, I think my phone is doing a security update, to be honest with you. Yeah, just did one. But I downloaded the transcripts of Robert Herr interviewing Joe Biden October 8th and October 9th of last year. And I was thinking about doing a live read of the transcripts. For you guys, because I think a lot of people probably haven't seen it. Now that it's over 2 days, and there's like 250. I would love to oh my God, that's what he's talking about. We can't get the tapes. The DOJ is not releasing the tapes. That's what he's about to get to here. Like that, where are the tapes? Why can't we get the tapes? What the heck is happening here? I'm going to put in here, I'm going to make a poll. Before I make a poll, I should like put this up here while I'm working on that poll. Remind you all that I am getting so close to 100,000. So close to 100,000. Oh my gosh. It's kind of like, you know, it's everyone's dream. Ever since I was a little boy, I wanted to get 100,000 subs. Ever since I was a little boy. So I'm going to start a poll here asking you, live read of her interviewing Biden. Oh my gosh, why is this not working? Stop making fun of the click clacking. I know, I see what y'all saying. I will tell you that, speaking of the click clacking, I'm going to be working on my appeals soon to the Court of Appeals. So I'm probably going to end up doing some lawyer mukbang. But yes, we'll have no, and we'll have Court of Appeals mukbang with good logic. That's correct. Should also shill for. I will tell you this. There's one other thing. While I'm shilling stuff out there, I'll also share one more thought with you, which is that I received an email from Robert Barnes today where he was sharing with me case law to support his constitutional issues that he raises with respect to the Nick Rekieta case. And I specifically asked him, are you okay with me sharing this with the public? Because I never want anyone to misunderstand. I don't want it to be, it seemed like something he would be very comfortable with me sharing. I wanted to be 100% sure. So that's why I said, are you okay with me sharing this? And he responded, definitely. So I do plan on going through that. And one of the things that I will point out that he says is that the reason you bring those issues up is not to fight out all the way through the appellate courts, but by raising these issues and really raising them strongly, that's how you get a better plea offer. So that's what he was telling me his point was, which makes sense. He's like, if you don't raise these issues, they have no reason to offer you anything. You'll get 4 to 5 years. If you raise these issues and they're well grounded, then you can plead out. So I'm thinking I'm going to cover the law that he brings up probably on locals. I was actually thinking about doing it right after my show. I was thinking about like running live here and then going in to locals. I was thinking about doing that, but I ended up not setting that up just because I was very torn about what to do tonight with you guys. I was very, very torn about what to cover with you. Whether I want to cover these hearings or not. Anyway, but that's definitely gonna be on locals. I'm not gonna be doing that on YouTube or Rumble. That's gonna be on locals. That's goodlogic.locals.com. So goodlogic.locals.com. Anyway, let's get back to Representative Biggs he's about to go after Merrick Garland for failing to release the audio tapes, which I would far prefer to play audio tapes. Far prefer audio tapes so we can actually hear Joe Biden answering these questions rather than try to guess. And he's about to point out why audio tapes are so vastly superior and necessary. He's going to make great points here on this.
You're mischaracterizing the filing. That was one of a substantial number of arguments made in a Freedom of Information.
Did they consult with you specifically about that idea, that notion where they were going to say something like, quote, this is from the pleading, the passage of time and advancements in audio, artificial intelligence, and deepfake technologies only amplify concerns about malicious manipulation of audio files, close quote. Did they consult with you about that provision?
Meaning the reason the state is claiming we don't want to give out the audio is because we think this will make it too easy for terrible deepfake AI people to pretend that he's saying stuff that he had never actually said, and that's going to lead to disinformation. That's what Matt Murphy is talking about here. Can we get someone make it? That's why he's saying if they don't release the audio, that's where you get like we should have people making AI. I don't know. I think my Biden is better than my Trump, but that's really a very low. If that's the threshold, that's a very low bar. We aren't the public. We are we're not. Even Grok says so. Grok knows. Grok say no. You as Biden, Ron Coleman as her. I can probably do that. Can we get matching 100K tattoos? Where? We don't do the tattoo thing. What happens in the tunnels stays in the tunnels. Everyone knows that.
I'm not going to talk about internal department deliberations. That was one of a large number of explanations in the document you're talking about.
And I'm talking specifically about that particularized rationale. And you don't want to discuss it, which is why you're non-responsive. And that's why we need the audio. Now, let me explain why. Because your attorney also said that you did alter the transcript. And they
did?
Said it was filler words, repeat words, and, I. But you know what? We don't know whether the blank, you said there were blank times where there was silence. We don't know whether those were 1 minute long, 2 minutes long. We don't know if he sputtered for and, because those were edited out.
Altered.
We do not know whether this supports and substantiates Mr. Herr's findings. By the way, you want to rely on Mr. Herr, you need to go back and listen to his testimony. Mr. Herr was pretty conclusive there that he had a poor memory. He was not able to answer all the questions. Substantively, the transcript may be accurate, but you know what? The audio would tell us so much more, which is why
You don't want us to know what it is. You don't want us to hear it because you're very afraid of that audio, because it'd be humiliating as to how grossly incompetent the sitting president is. We all know that. We all know that this is just a fig leaf excuse as to why it is you don't want to allow the audio. Oh, maybe there's going to be AI deepfakes. There'll be plenty of AI deepfakes even without the release. Plenty of AI deepfakes even without the release.
Which is why the Supreme Court, in the case that you poo-pooed when Mr. Fitzgerald was asking about, they said, look, if there's editing that's gone on here, that's the rationale. And there was editing. Your own office admitted it. But you won't admit it today. You've been non-responsive. And that's why we need the audio. And that's why you're here. Yield back.
There you go. There you go. Told you. Juicy. Juicy. We have enough Biden talking already to do deepfake. Yeah, that's correct. There's plenty of Biden audio deepfake, which it's stupid. It doesn't make any sense at all. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. So now I want to get into like the legal rash. This is the more legal type of argument here presented by Thomas Massey, who I have spoken with. I kept hoping he would bring up my gag, my efforts to ungag, because I spoke to him about that on X one time a while ago. But this is Thomas Massey going after him, saving the best for last. Saving the best for last, at least in my personal opinion. Thomas Massey does a pretty good job here himself.
Without objection. The question presented is whether private citizen Jack Smith lacks authority to represent the United States. I also ask unanimous consent to submit for the record an article titled, "Was it legal to appoint Jack Smith in the first place?" This is a Heritage publication.
Without objection.
I want to start by reading you the appointment clause of the Constitution. Article 2, Section 2, Clause 6 states, "The President shall nominate and by and with the advice and consent of the Senate shall appoint ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, judges of the Supreme Court, and all other officers of the United States, whose appointments are not herein otherwise provided for, and which shall be established by law." Are U.S. attorneys nominated by the President and confirmed by the Senate according to this appointments clause?
They are appointed by the President, confirmed by the Senate.
Wouldn't you agree that U.S. attorneys are held to the appointments clause because they are delegated some part of the sovereign power of the United States, such as the ability to make indictments and charge individuals with crimes?
I would say that those are not the reasons why, and a court has already ruled on the question of whether special counsels are subject to the appointments clause in the Mueller case, and ruled that they were not. Was Jack Smith nominated by President Biden or confirmed by the U.S. Senate? Look, you're asking me about a case again. Motions filed.
This is a simple question.
No, I'm not.
Was Jack Smith nominated by President Biden?
No, he was not.
Was he confirmed by the Senate?
No, he was not.
When was the special counsel statute passed?
There is no special counsel statute. There was an independent counsel statute that was expired.
So it expired. So what gives you the authority to appoint a special counsel? You've created an office in the U.S. government that does not exist.
What the heck is that about? How do you just create an office? Now, just so you can understand, what his point is that if someone was going to have this type of role, there has to be a nomination and then voted on by the Senate. That's the way it works. That's the way this whole thing works. All those confirmation hearings that are really boring, where we basically sometimes will see clips of someone being particularly wacko. You got to go through that to get Jack Smith appointed. They never bothered. It's all of a sudden Merrick Garland said, "You're hired. I'm giving you the job, and I have no authority over you because you're not under my purview, but I'm hiring you." Like, how does that work? How does that work? Have you ever heard? This is something he doesn't really raise here, but have you ever heard of someone hiring someone who's not under their direction? How does that work? Imagine you run a plant, right? It's like you run or any service industry. It's like, oh, okay, I'm going to hire you now to be the manager of this Home Depot, the head manager of Home Depot. Oh, what's your authority? Oh, me? I work at a car place down the block. It's like, what? Why? How? I spent some years working in AutoZone, so there you go. You're not under my purview. You're doing your own. How does that work? That doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense at all. That's why you have a special process here. President nominates, Senate confirms. That did not happen here.
Without authorization from Congress.
There are regulations under which the Attorney General appoints special counsel. They've been in effect for 30 years, maybe longer.
They expired.
Under both parties. The matter that you're talking about whether somebody can have an employee of the Justice Department serve as special counsel has been adjudicated.
You appealed, let me interrupt for a second, because you appealed to a regulation, a rule, whereas the Constitution says shall be established by law.
Yeah, the
statutes. Right, the statute, but you referred to a regulation, not to U.S. code.
I don't have Swalwell in my rotisserie here. I don't have him. You tell me I need to find it? Really? It's really funny? Is it really funny? It's really funny? I'll trust you. I think I'm going to trust you. Kathy says, when you do the 100K follower count, we'll be able to see the count across. We will still see 98 too. That's a great question. That's what I need to do. I need to get a counter going here. I need to get a counter. I think that'll help. Push it. Or at least do transcription for legal cases. We have to include every etc. Otherwise, you're changing a legal document. Well, I'll tell you this, Goofy for Jesus. I'll tell you this. I've done depositions. I know that most court reporters will tend to leave out the ums and ers unless they don't like the guy asking the questions. When you see a lot of ums and ers, it means two things. One, the attorney is not very skilled in how to handle a deposition. And two, the court reporter wants you to know it. That's what it's saying. Two things. One, you haven't practiced cutting out those ums and ers, which we all do it from time to time. But it's something that we work very hard when you're an attorney who is conducting depositions, or you're in this job that I'm in right now, where I work very hard to try to hold back from saying and and I certainly fail far too often for my own tastes. But in all of these speaking type of positions where you're addressing an audience or your words are going to be recorded and read back, and you know that everything is being taken down, you sort of learn to curtail yourself in ways that are unnatural for most Americans. It takes practice, a lot of practice. But they're technically, you are correct in what you're saying, that they're technically supposed to take it down. I'm just telling you my experience is that more often than not, the only time they take down the ums and ers are when it's a situation they don't like the attorney. Now, the ands and things, other words, they will not cut out. That is unusual. And I'll agree with you certainly on that respect, that what Biggs was saying, that we want to know if he said and 14 times or said it twice. So that should all be in a proper transcript, and that's excessive protection of the deponent when they're cutting out actual words rather than ums and ers. So, how does the new special prosecutor get a budget? Without Congress? I have no idea. He's creating an office that's illegitimate, hands down. For sure. It's completely illegitimate. I hope Trump gets elected and fires everyone like an extended episode of The Apprentice. That's how I want it to be on TV. I want him to bring him in and film it. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. Over and over. That'd be great.
Code.
May I answer? The regulation cites the two U.S. Code provisions that permit the Attorney General's appointment. Attorney General Barr cited to the same ones.
Are you familiar?
Even Attorney General Meese did that.
All right. Are you familiar with former Attorney General Meese's amicus brief?
No.
You're not.
I know that he's filed one because I read it in the newspapers, but otherwise I'm not familiar with it. But
Well, he raises some good questions that I agree with in there. It seems like you've created an office that would require an act of Congress, yet there's not an act of Congress that authorizes that. And even if it didn't require an act of Congress, and you've already admitted it, there was no act of Congress that established this office, it would still require, according to the Constitution, a nomination by the president and confirmation by the Senate. I want to move on to January 6th. Is it accurate to say that the
I'm just going to say
DOJ is
this
on pace
about what you're saying here, Wellesley? I was playing this and I was laying in bed. I'm trying to find like which ones do I want to cover. And I was playing like one after another. And Lady Lawgic was next to me and she's like, I know he's a jerk, but I'm actually starting to feel almost bad for him as to how badly he's getting butchered here. I'm really almost starting to feel bad for him. So I found the Swalwell thing. I am going to play that, Karen. So thank you for calling that to my attention. I'm thanking you in advance and in trust that I'm not going to regret that. Guards in depth. Jack Smith used to work for the same International Criminal Court that wants to charge Netanyahu and accuse U.S. senators of crime for criticizing the court. Interesting little tidbit there.
to arrest roughly one protester a day in 2024, nearly 3 years after the incident?
I don't know what the pace is.
Is-
Job is to arrest and bring to justice people who are criminally responsible, and as they are found, they will be arrested.
Is your office preparing to drop charges against more than 340 January 6thers charged with 1512C2 and release dozens from prison on that count if the Supreme Court this month reverses how your department has used that statute against them?
We respect the Supreme Court. Whatever the court rules, we will act appropriately.
So you'll have to drop the charges if the Supreme Court says that you did that
I'm not
wrongfully.
going to answer hypotheticals. We'll wait and see what the Supreme Court says.
What do you say in response to D.C. Appellate Court overturning 2 excessive sentencing requests sought by your office?
So that was really the heart of what I wanted to get to. Really, it was really the Jack Smith stuff. The rest of this is a bit boring, and my time and your time is precious. So especially now, since I'm going to have to bring in Swalwell, which I did not anticipate doing. I have not yet vetted this, but I'm hopeful that it's going to be everything that we all would anticipate Swalwell would be. So, not yet vetted. We'll see.
Admit the pleadings in the case of Judicial Watch versus U.S. Department of Justice.
Objection.
A document entitled DOJ claims unprecedented deep fake.
Objection.
Transcript tampering. DOJ says written record of Biden interview with prosecutors omitted words.
Objection.
DOJ refuses to release audio of Biden and the her interview.
Objection. The gentleman from California is recognized.
Before anyone else on the other side saddles up and gets on their high legal horses, I just want to remind the committee that the chairman is 754 days into his own subpoena defiance. Mr. Attorney General, last week it was reported that House Ethics Panel subpoenas DOJ for Gates records. It was a May 14, 2024 political piece. I'd like to submit it to the record with unanimous consent.
Without objection.
I just want to get this straight. Mr. Gates wants the Attorney General to reopen and publicize evidence from an investigation that a Donald Trump appointed prosecutor closed against President Biden, while at the same time, Mr. Gates himself is being protected by the same DOJ policy that is refusing to voluntarily turn over evidence from Mr. Gates's sex trafficking investigation. Mr. Attorney General, can you just briefly, without going...
Listen to how he phrased that, sex trafficking. I think it was that he was traveling with someone, he was ostensibly, I think these charges have all been dropped, but that he was ostensibly traveling with someone, some girlfriend who was 17. I'm not trying to, that was what he ostensibly was involved in. He's calling it sex trafficking. Like, what a slime ball. You're so slimy.
Into the facts of that case, address why that is the DOJ policy as it relates to the current president and any other requests about closed investigations?
Yeah, without referencing any case, we try to protect the law enforcement files of the Justice Department so that in future investigations, people are willing to cooperate with us. We understand Congress's concerns, and when we have an obligation to assess whether the information that we've provided is sufficient to accommodate the legitimate needs of the Congress. All of the reasons that Congress has given us for why they need the audio are satisfied with respect to the tapes. That is, all of the legitimate reasons given, the reasons that relate to legislative work of the committee. As to that, we provided Mr. Herr's testimony in full, and we provided Mr. Herr's testimony report. We've gone as far as we can go to accommodate.
No, you can go further. You can actually give the audio tapes.
Protect our ability to do investigations in this case and in any other case.
That's what I thought.
Mr. Attorney General, let's set the facts straight here. And my job is
that's what your job
kind
is?
of lead an intervention for my colleagues. I think they need it. The Attorney General did not prosecute Donald Trump in New York. It was the result of Donald Trump's choices. Donald Trump chose to live in New York.
I wonder if this was before or after Merrick Garland was hoisted on his own petard.
He chose to commit his crimes in New York. He was afforded a right to be tried by his neighbors, jurors, in New York.
None of those people were his peers. Zero of them were his peers. Tried by his neighbors. This is another speaking point that the left loves to try to trot out there. He was tried by his peers.
He chose that jury in New York, working with his counsel, and they chose to make him a 34-time over convicted felon.
How's that
narrative?
How's that narrative working for you, Eric? How's that working for you, Eric?
Was made in the recent years is that the president that was first appointed, that Donald Trump appointed the U.S. attorney who is investigating the current president's son. Donald Trump appointed John Durham, who investigated the wild claims made by this committee during the Russia investigation. And Donald Trump appointed Robert Hur, who was kept on by the Biden administration. Also, you have the right in our country to aid yourself in your own defense and talk to investigators. You also have a right not to. Mr. Attorney General, did Donald Trump sit down for an interview in the Mueller investigation?
The Mueller investigation, which thoroughly exonerated him. You have a total right to not sit for it, but now I'm going to try and castigate him for not sitting for it.
I actually don't know, but I'm not going to comment on other investigations.
He didn't. Did he sit down for an interview with
Why are you asking the question? Why are you asking the question?
Investigators prior to the January 6th indictment?
I'm not going to comment on
He didn't. He also didn't sit down for an interview with investigators in the classified materials indictment, but President Biden did sit down for a voluntary interview with Robert Hur. A jury.
He doesn't remember doing it, but he did.
Can't hold it against Donald Trump that he did not testify in his own defense.
So I'm going to try to hold it against him.
In New York. But he promised everyone else in the country that he would. You can hold it against Donald Trump that he did not testify when you consider whether you should so blindly follow every wild claim that he makes. My colleagues, none of this today that you are bringing makes sense. Your inconsistencies, your hypocrisy, your sycophants.
This sounds like the Chewbacca defense.
See, unless
none of this makes sense.
And guys, I'm starting to think you're in a cult. That is your right.
Oh, that's why Karen wants me to do this. Oh, I see what's happening here. I'm wise to you, Karen. I'm wise to you.
Your responsibility. I promise you that's not what your constituents would want. So if you believe in states' rights, except when a jury in that state convicts your nominee for president, you might be in a cult. If you can't, if
How's this narrative working for you, Eric?
If you claim you back the blue but want to defund the police when the police go to your nominee's house to retrieve national security secrets,
Oh, for the love of God. Oh, for the love of God. Oh, my God. Yeah. Defund the police. No one's talking about the FBI when they say defund the police, jackass.
you might be in a cult. If you're supporting a guy whose felony convictions prevent him from getting a security clearance, you might be in a cult. And if the guy you're supporting
I don't know who he's talking about with that the security clearance.
for president has felony convictions that prevent him from going to Argentina,
I move that the
Australia,
gentleman's words be
Brazil,
taken down.
Cambodia, Canada, Chile,
Chairman.
China,
What?
Cuba, Dominican Republic, Egypt, Ethiopia,
Mr. Chairman,
Hong
my
Kong,
my motion
India,
takes precedent.
Indonesia,
Time of the-
Iran,
time of the
Ireland,
gentleman.
Israel,
Time of the gentleman has
Japan,
expired.
Kenya, Macau, Malaysia,
now recognize-
Mexico.
What is he babbling about? What is he babbling about? Oh my gosh, this dude's a baboon. He's a baboon. Can I say that about him? Can I say that? No one's gonna get mad at me, right? I'm good with that, right? I'm good with that. He's a baboon.
Convictions that prevent him from going to
Mr. Chairman,
Argentina,
I move that the
Australia,
gentleman's words be
Brazil,
taken down.
Cambodia, Canada, Chile,
Chairman.
China,
Time.
Cuba, Dominican Republic, Egypt, Ethiopia,
Chairman,
Hong
my
Kong,
motion
lunatic.
takes precedent.
Indonesia,
Time of the-
Iran,
time of the
Ireland,
gentleman.
Israel,
Time of the gentleman has
Japan,
expired.
Kenya, Macau, Malaysia,
recognizes-
Mexico, Morocco, Nepal,
Gentleman is out of
New
order. The
Zealand,
time has
Peru,
expired.
Wow.
Philippines, Singapore,
Well, they should yank his ass out of that chair.
South Africa,
Gentlemen.
South Korea, Taiwan, Tanzania, Tunisia, Turkey,
What a loser.
Ukraine, United Arab
Time of the
Emirates,
gentleman
and
has
the
expired.
UK.
The
You
gentleman
might
from
be in a cult.
Kentucky is recognized for 5 minutes. I'm asking that the gentleman,
I
What a
have unanimous
freaking
consent.
loon.
gentleman has unanimous consent request.
I ask unanimous consent to submit.
What a friggin' loon. All right. A strong ending there. Strong ending. I agree with you. They do need to bring him in every day. I love seeing him uncomfortable. I totally disagreed. I totally disagree with Lady Lawgic. I'm like, no, he's a snake. No, you can't cut the head of this snake off often enough. Do it again and again and again. That's true. Is it me or did Adam Schiff look like he got into Hunter Biden's party favors? I didn't see Adam Schiff. I didn't watch that. I didn't watch that part of it. Black cherry Kool-Aid flavor, best cult flavor. Nope. Reject. Wait, Biden's cooperation is a basis not to prosecute a decision to protect the audio as a pretext for cooperation. It seems quid pro quo-y. Interesting point. Joe, if you read the Her report, can you read it as Charlton Heston in bed? I show upon thee. Look unto the Lord. Oh wait, that's Moses. He is the school naming. He's school naming all the country. Yeah, I think there's 179. I don't know why he skipped some of them, but my God, dude's a loon. He's so terrible. He's so terrible. Well, let's get the best one of the day. Best one of the day. At least in my opinion. This one's the best one. And that is the sex trafficker, Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz was fired today.
Boston field office, in which he explains that conspiracies about the FBI causing
Yes,
a capital
that
incident
idiot.
excerpt where he states, quote,
This guy's the
I will
penguin.
say this by FBI sources, close quote.
Without objection. The gentleman from Florida is recognized for 5 minutes.
Attorney General, you've told us that it's a dangerous conspiracy theory to allege that the Department of Justice is communicating with these state and local prosecutions against Trump. You can clear it all up for us right now. Will the Department of Justice provide to the committee all documents, all correspondence between the department and Alvin Bragg's office and Fonnie Willis's office and Letitia James's office?
Oh, you're saying that we think now what he's attacking him on is the Merrick Garland claim that all these folks who are claiming that the DOJ is working hand in glove with Alvin Bragg and Fannie Willis, that's all just a fantasy. It's a crazy, crazy thought by the right-wing conspiracy theorists that they think that they're all involved. So he's like, all right, so why don't you just give us your communication so we can see? Clear it up for us. Transparency.
The offices you're referring to are independent offices of state.
I get that. I get that. The question is whether or not you will provide all of your documents and correspondence. That's the question. I don't need a history lesson.
Cut it out. Cut it out. We all know what you're doing.
Well, I'm going to say again, we do not control those offices. They make their
The question
Why can you not share your correspondences?
is whether you
decisions.
communicate with them, not whether you control them. Do you communicate with them, and will you provide those
If you
communications?
make a request, we'll refer it to our Office of Legislative
But
Affairs.
see, here's the thing.
They
You
will
come in
respond
here and you lodge
appropriately.
this attack that it's a conspiracy theory, that there is coordinated lawfare against Trump. And then when we say, fine, just give us the documents, give us the correspondence, and then if it's a conspiracy theory, that will be evident. But when you say, well, we'll take your request, and then we'll sort of work it through the DOJ's accommodation process, then you're actually advancing the very dangerous conspiracy theory that you're concerned about. Now,
And this is true of everything. Everything that the left does. Everything. Everything. That they're like, try and hide. Everything here is clean. Everything here is clean. You just can't look. You can't see what's happening here. No look-sees. Just trust us. Everything is clean. And if you think that there's anything not clean here, you're part of a conspiracy. You're just a crazy conspiracy theorist. Why would you think that? They're different offices. Everyone knows that. Unbelievable. You're the one who creates this thinking.
you were a judge, once nominated the highest court in our country. When you were a judge,
That was a dig. That was a dig. Did you miss it? Once nominated to the highest court in the country. That's right, because he was nominated to the Supreme Court. And Mitch McConnell, and the only base thing the guy ever did, almost probably accidentally in his life, was saying, we don't really need to vote on this right now. I'm not going to call this up for a vote. And it's his way of reminding him, ha ha. That's what he's doing. That's what he's doing there. Just to make his blood boil.
you were a judge, once nominated the highest court in our country. When you were a judge, I'm just curious, did you ever make political donations to partisan candidates?
No.
No, and you didn't
You
because
see his face where he's like, you. Look at his face. No. That's so good. Look at Merrick's face. This is right after he points out, he should have been on the Supreme Court.
when you were a judge, I'm just curious, did you ever make political donations to partisan candidates?
No.
No. And you didn't because
No. That was a nice little jab without it like being anything that could be considered rude.
that would create the potential appearance of impropriety.
I didn't because there's a federal rule
Oh.
barring federal judges from making contributions.
Right, but under that same theory of attacks on the judicial process, like, shouldn't someone be owed like a jury of their peers and a judge that's non-biased rather than getting a judge from your political opponent's donor file?
I'm well aware that you're not asking a hypothetical. You're asking me to comment on a jury verdict in another jurisdiction, which has to be respected. I won't comment on it. That case is still ongoing. The defendant
Mr.
has
Attorney General,
indicated-
I hadn't asked you about the verdict yet. We were getting there. I was talking about the judge. And so let me ask you this question about your time as a judge. Was there ever a time when you were a judge when you had a family member who was personally profiting off of the notoriety of a case that was before your court?
You can say no. You could say no. It's not saying that Merchan had a family member who was personally profiting.
To say again, very clear you're asking me to comment on a case in another
No,
jurisdiction.
no, no.
Maybe it's in your own head. That's in your own head. I'm just asking you a question.
Wait, hold on, Mr. Attorney General. Did you ever have a family member profit off of the notoriety of any case that you sat over?
Say again, you're asking
Yes or no?
You're asking me to comment on a case currently.
Well, it seems you're
before
connecting the
another
dots,
court.
Mr. Attorney General. I'm just asking you as to a general principle.
I never connected those dots. You're the one who's connecting them.
But you are aware that Judge Merchan's daughter was profiting off of this prosecution. You are aware that that creates the appearance of impropriety. You know the very reason there's a federal rule against judges giving donations is because it is the very attack on the judicial process that we're concerned about.
I'm sorry, I don't agree with anything you just said, but I'm not going to comment on it.
Okay, so you won't comment on it, Mr. Attorney General, but you had no problem dispatching Matthew Colangelo. Who's Matthew Colangelo?
That is
Matthew Colangelo was the lead attorney who prosecuted the case against Donald Trump. And he's saying, you are the one who sent Matthew to the New York District Attorney's office. You're the one who did it. Ooh, uh-oh.
false. I did not dispatch Matthew Colangelo.
Matthew
That's
Colangelo,
false.
Matthew
False.
Colangelo became the Assistant Attorney General at the very beginning of the Biden administration. Without having been Senate confirmed,
He was Assistant Attorney General.
goes and gets the senior role at the DOJ. And then after, I believe it's Gupta replaces Colangelo, Colangelo makes this remarkable downstream career journey from the U.S. Department of Justice in Washington, D.C., and then pops up in Alvin Bragg's office to go get Trump. And you're saying that's just a career choice that was made that has nothing to do with the lawfare coordinated by the
Saying it's
Oh, dang. Yeah, how do you explain that? Oh, that's what you want to do. I don't know. I don't know what happened. He just decided to go there. I mean, look, a lot of people go voluntarily just take a much lower position than a higher position. That happens all the time.
false. I did not dispatch Mr. Colangelo anywhere.
Well, do you know how he ended up there?
I assume he he applied for a job there and got the job.
But see, you know
I
what?
can tell
know
you
what?
I had nothing to do with it.
Well, you might not have had anything to do with it, but we've got this contemporaneous evidence in Mr. Pomerantz's book. So Pomerantz writes this book, which I'm sure you're aware of, where he says, we put together the legal eagles to get Trump. We got all these folks together and we assembled them for that purpose. And so when we on the Judiciary Committee think about attacks on the judicial process, our concern is that the facts and the law aren't being followed. A target is acquired here, Trump, and then you assemble the legal talent from DOJ, Mr. Pomerantz, and you bring everybody in to get him. And meanwhile, the judge is making money on it. The judge is making money on it, or the judge's family is making money on it for stuff that you yourself wouldn't do. You know, no one's going to buy this. No one's going to believe it. It's going to create great disruption. And I am saddened by it because, like you, I have given my life to the law. I care deeply about the law. And I think that the lawfare we've seen against President Trump will do great damage well beyond our time in public service. I see my time's expired. I yield back.
There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Attorney General, do you want to respond to anything in Mr. Gates' tirade?
This is a way of him recognizing that Gates just skewered him. So let me try and give you opportunity to try and fix that as best you can, which he doesn't do a very good job fixing.
I think everything he was talking about was a case in another jurisdiction.
It's probably part of the hazing process, Allegan.
An independent prosecutor, Mr. Pomerantz, worked for that independent prosecutor. I don't know Mr. Pomerantz. I don't know what's in his book, but these are decisions made in another office independent of the Justice Department.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney General. Last week, as we all know, a jury of his peers convicted former President Trump on 34 felony counts.
How's that narrative working for you? 5 million TikTokers. 5 million to 300,000.
For falsifying business records of the first degree. The case was brought by the Manhattan DA, so it is a state case, not a federal case. I shouldn't have to ask you this, Mr. Attorney General, but since the majority seems to be confused, can you please explain the difference between a...
Oh my God, this is so stupid. Can you please explain that federal court is not the same thing as state court?
State case and a federal case?
Yes,
He's so proud of that question. You see his stupid little, look at his little stupid grin. Look at what a weirdo. What a weird little man. What a weird, sad little, look at the grin at the end of this.
Can you please explain the difference between a state case and a federal case?
Yes, the Manhattan District Attorney um, um, has jurisdiction over cases involving New York state law, completely independent of the Justice Department, which has jurisdiction.
We just dispatched Colangelo there. He just like headed on over there.
Cases involving
So they're working for
law.
us.
We do not control the Manhattan District Attorney.
We just send our
Manhattan
attorneys
District
there.
Attorney does not report to us. The Manhattan District.
We just won't tell you about correspondences we have with them or share those.
Attorney makes its own decision.
I think that's enough of this idiot anyway. Ah, gosh. The new tunnel is complete. Oh, everyone's drinking the. There's no Kool-Aid. There's no Kool-Aid. No Kool-Aid. Diet Mountain Dew, maybe, but no Kool-Aid. I still get goosebumps whenever I watch Heston as Moses parting the Red Sea, shouting, "Fear not! Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord." Missed opportunity. Should have asked. So only reason you didn't give political donations was because of federal rules against it. Yeah, nice. I like it. He should have asked Garland if he's ever boinked a Chinese spy and given up U.S. secrets as a dig at Swalwell. I think he went before Swalwell. That's probably why he didn't. Have AI read Joe Biden's part in Joe's voice in the read. Yeah, you think I know how to do that? Speaking of snakes, Cuomo goes tomorrow. I would actually live stream that. As it happens tomorrow, I'm actually working, like real work. I also want to give you a heads up. Speaking of which, tomorrow's schedule is going to be a little bit later than I know. I started late tonight, 10:35, or technically, I guess if you were sitting here, 10:38. Tomorrow, I'm probably going to be starting my stream at 11. Just giving you a heads up on that. I have a mediation for a client tomorrow, which is why I'm not going to be live streaming the Cuomo thing, because I really want to watch that. And then I have tomorrow night, I have like a family thing that I have to go to, and it's going to keep me from getting back here on time. At least I can't be sure I'll be back here on time, which is why I'm going to push that back. I'm going to push my start time back tomorrow to 11 p.m. Prospering Woman says 52% of TikTok users are over 30 years of age. It's a major marketing platform for artisans and small businesses like me. Yeah, that also means 48% are under 30. So there's that. 48% being under 30 is a pretty significant number. Just saying. Just saying. Just saying. Now, I told you all that I was going to share with you the new crisis. And this is something that it's kind of scary. It's kind of scary. So I'm going to switch from my oftentimes jovial tone to a more serious tone, because this is something that I think that each of us need to take very seriously. And perhaps I'm to blame for not taking this issue seriously enough in the past, and perhaps downplaying the magnitude. But no longer, because of a report that came out today, just 3.5 hours ago, a report that came out today, which makes me recognize the gravity of the crisis that we're facing. And I felt it was incumbent upon me to share the gravity of this crisis with each and every one of you, because otherwise you too may fail to take this as seriously as it needs to be taken. So, and I'm telling you right now, I'm doing a complete 180. I'm doing a complete 180 because now I fully appreciate the seriousness of this crisis that we're dealing with. And I want to make sure that each and every one of you recognize the same level of seriousness. And that is obviously global warming is accelerating at an unprecedented pace. Study. Global warming is accelerating at an unprecedented If it was precedented, obviously we don't have to worry about it. This is unprecedented. So we need to take this very, very seriously. Global warming has accelerated at an unprecedented pace as the window to limit rising temperatures within internationally set targets closes. Over 50 leading scientists warned. 50. It's not like there's 30 or 40. Then I wouldn't be as nervous about this whole thing. When you're talking about over 50 leading scientists, over 50, which means, I don't know, it could be like 478 for all you know, but it's at least 50 plus. They warned in a study that was published on Wednesday. We need to take this very seriously. Looking at decade averages, temperatures climbed 0.26 degrees Celsius. You can even see the proof here because the ice is melting. The ice is melting. This is icebergs that are melting. Look at it crashing into the sea there. The icebergs are melting. The penguins are getting taller. Look at decades average. It climbed 0.26 degrees Celsius from 2014 to 2023, said the study published in the journal Earth System Science Data. In the same period, average global surface temperatures reached 1.19 degrees Celsius above the 1850 to 1900 pre-industrial benchmark for measuring a warming world. Oh my God, this is crazy. The Earth is going to be set ablaze. And you're sitting there riding around in your gas guzzling, in your air-conditioned Humvees, just driving all around, just emitting all those toxins into the atmosphere, not having the slightest concern that the Earth is going to turn into a scorching ball of flame and go spinning into the ethos, because you're just too busy with your plastic cups and your plastic straws, driving around in non-electrical vehicles, emitting it, ordering up more hamburgers for cars that are going to fart their way into our collective oblivion, because you're too self-absorbed. And we need a man. The reason I'm glad this came out now, the reason I think that this is so essential, that this became public knowledge right now, is because we're going to have an important election in November. And it's very important to recognize that while, look, the immigration situation is in crisis, our dollars are worth 4 cents compared to what they were. We have potentially World War III. I don't care about this stuff. Ignore all of that, because we need the man who's going to lead us into the green future. That's the only salvation we have. You might think to yourself, maybe this came out now because, it's timing to try to help the PR as far as helping the left and stuff like that. No. 50. More than 50. Over 50. Now, I don't think this means scientists who are over 50. Maybe it's 4 scientists who are over 50. That could be, technically, if you read this sentence that way. It's not really 50 scientists. Maybe it's a bunch of scientists who are over 50 years old. That's what the leading over 50-year-old scientists are saying. This is a serious, serious problem. You guys have been joking about this for far, far too long. You've not been taking this seriously enough with your gas guzzling. You can take a bike. I don't mean none of those motorcycles, those mopeds, which are just, basically combustion chambers that are being emitted into the atmosphere here, almost as if they have like a target, like they're weaponized to like sort of shoot up into the atmosphere to try and like blow holes in our ozone layer. I'm talking about an actual, physical bike. Stop eating those cheeseburgers, fatty, because we know that what those cows are doing. This needs to be taken far more seriously. And frankly, I blame most of you. Human-induced warming has been increasing at a rate that is unprecedented in the instrumental record. Because what we did was, what these scientists who are over 50 years old, what they did is they're not kids. They're experienced scientists. They're over 50. They pulled the perfect measuring devices from the 1870s and compared them to the measuring devices that we have now. And they were able to see, oh my God, it's 1.19 degrees Celsius, not only 1.818, which no one would really be that concerned. It's 1.19. This is just like, I'm in the red here. I'm in the red. The study is part of a series of periodic climate assessments designed to fill the gap between the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change reports that have been released on average every 6 years since 1988. Because we need the gap filled now. We need the gap before this next election. That's why this is so important. That's why you know that this is so accurate, because it's like pre-election information is always the most accurate that you can possibly get. It came as diplomats from around the world were meeting in Germany this week for mid-year climate talks ahead of the UN COP29 summit in November in Baku, Azerbaijan. The 2015 Paris Agreement that resulted from previous COP summit saw countries agree to cap global warming at well below 2 Celsius, 2C above pre-industrial levels, while striving for the safer limit of 1.5 C. Wednesday's report found that by the end of 2023, human activity had pushed temperatures 1.31 Celsius above the pre-industrial level. Look at this. In the time it took me to read this, we actually went up from 1.19 degrees Celsius to 1.31 Celsius. It's unprecedented how fast this is happening. This is unprecedented. You're sitting there, oh yeah, in your air-conditioned house, all cozy there with your plasticized lazy boys, just destroying our environment. Earth warmed a total of 1.43 Celsius with other naturally occurring drivers, including the El Nino weather phenomenon, taken into account. So there you go. The natural warming, that's not part of this. Okay, that's not part of this. A lot of you are going to try and say, well, there's natural warming. That's part of what the Earth does. This sentence should not have been here, because this doesn't have this. I don't want any of you to think that perhaps the warming is natural, because oh my God, it's time. Look, I hope you put it in order for an EV, because obviously if we're able to have everyone driving around in electrical vehicles and have all the power turbines that are creating enough of an electrical grid coming from oil, that we can fix this problem and save the earth before it's too late. For the love of God, don't you care about your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren and your great-great-grandchildren, where they're going to have it be 150 years from now? The average temperatures could be up another degree by then. Don't you care the slightest bit? How selfish, how self-absorbed are you, you sickos? Another factor contributing to the heat is the decline of certain polluting particles in the atmosphere that reflects some of the sun's energy back into space, this study found. Look at this. Your global warming is even ruining the pollutants. You're ruining the pollutants. Get yourselves under control here. The main reason is cleaning up air pollution, first in Europe and the U.S. acid rain, more recently in Asia, particularly China. Glenn Peters of Norway's Cicero Center for International Climate Research told AFP. What? So they clearing up air pollution? What? And that's contributing to, so when they cleaned up the air pollution, that made it hotter? Wait, what? Okay. And tightening of global shipping regulation. The decline of coal-fired energy have also contributed to a drop in sulfur dioxide emissions, which had a cooling. Also, the decline of coal-fired energy was what? So that means that taking coal out has made it hotter? Now a word from our sponsor. Well, anyway, point is here. The point is, it's time for you guys to get yourself back into some shape. Into shape. Get yourselves into shape. It's time. It's time. It's very, very clear. Very, very clear. I blame all the dinosaur farts we're drilling for. The Earth is still recovering from the flood. If this is a climate, there's no cult. There's no cult. Definitely not a cult. I'm waiting for global warming. I already got property purchased in northern Canada. Figured I can make bank. There you go. Well, that's smart thinking. Smart thinking, Elegant. I have a solution to global warming: air conditioning. That's not going to work. Are you going to ride your bike tomorrow? Can we order some plastic shekels? Plastic shekels? Does the left think over 50 is a credible number to be forgivable? 51 former intelligence agents. Don't gaslight me, dude. I don't get it. Would all this mean this is natural, or should we go back to coal-powered steam engines? Apparently. What the hell? I read that article. I'm like, I don't even know what the hell this is saying. I don't know what this is saying. What are we supposed to be doing? What are you supposed to be telling us? Over 50 liters. That's the liters over 50. It's the liters over 50. No way the cult won't fail. I bet they can even agree on one Kool-Aid flavor, a cow sacrifice. Clean coal. Trump had access to Nikola Tesla's notes. They're the best notes. They're the best notes. Everyone says Tesla is way better than Edison. Yeah. All kidding aside, I do expect that we will hear that the likely tried, because we haven't heard about climate since really the days of COVID. Ever since COVID, I haven't heard anyone complaining about climate. It's not really been nearly as popular. It used to be I couldn't go 10 minutes without talking about climate. But ever since COVID days, I feel like over the last year or two, all the climate crazies sort of went lurking off into the dark. And all of a sudden I see this thing pop up here. In case you were missing the point there, I was not really very sincere about worrying about climate. I've been one of the featured people in screaming that this whole climate change issue is classic hoax, complete hoax. And I was saying that long before I was doing this. I was saying this is crap. But we haven't heard about it. We used to hear about it all the time. You don't hear from Greta anymore. You don't hear it. We don't hear from her at all. Where's Greta? We all need Greta. Where's Greta? Where is she? I don't even know. Oh gosh. Well, anyway. Bottom line is, I do expect that we're going to see and hear much more about this over the next couple of months. They're going to say, you see, it's getting worse. It's unprecedented. And who cares how terrible Biden is? He's the only one who's going to stop climate change. And they're going to try and use that to bring the kids back around into Camp Biden and be like, your world is going to be destroyed. It's going to be destroyed. It's going to be destroyed. And that's what we're going to see. That's what I'm predicting. Who's the next Greta? She's 18, no relevance. Yeah, I know. They do like him young. I don't know. I think part of what they liked about her is that she wasn't simply autistic, but she looked autistic. Like she looked like a little bit off. Where you're like, what the hell's happening here? What's her deal? How dare you? How dare you? I haven't heard her name in a long time. Anyway, that's pretty much my show for tonight. I feel like you're all up to date. You're all up to speed. And that's my objective. Get you all up to speed. Get you up to speed. We're good to go. Let me do a quick little canvas here. Make sure I didn't miss any. I did miss. I missed. Breck Nichols saying, Joe, you had no right to insult baboons like that. When I was referring to Eric Swalwell as being like a baboon. All right. Do a quick check over here. Make sure I'm good over here also. I'm good in locals. All right. Viola hanging out in locals. IB Kiki Lee is saying, I'll enjoy this. What am I going to enjoy? All right, we're going to close with this one. This we'll close with. This is good for closing. I hadn't seen this, but I just saw 10 seconds of it and I was like, okay, this is good. I don't know about that. Let me share this with you. You're going to like this one. You're going to like this one. This is Anthony Fauci who testified today.
Emails, texts, letters of myself, my wife, my 3 daughters. There have been credible death threats leading to the arrests of 2 individuals, and credible death threats means someone who clearly was on their way to kill me. And it's required.
Were they arrested? Were they convicted? Were they indicted? Were they charged?
My having protective services essentially all the time. It is very troublesome to me. It is much more troublesome because they've involved my wife and my 3 daughters.
At these moments, how do you feel? Keep your mic on.
Terrible.
Do you continue to receive threats today?
Yes, I do. Every time someone gets up and says I'm responsible for the death of people throughout the world.
You are responsible for the death of millions. Millions. You're a terrible, terrible human being. It's like Satan had to make hell a much hotter place because of you. It's like it's not hot enough. It's not hot enough. He's coming soon. We have to. It's almost like they had to do renovations in hell for this guy.
The death threats go up. Emails.
Renovations in hell. That's what they need for Anthony Fauci. They were like, our standard levels of hell. I don't know. Maybe you think that hell has different like sections? It's like, you have our Adolf wing, our Adolf Fauci wing of hell. And then you sort of like, have like your Ruth Bader Ginsburg division. It's like different levels, different levels. What do you think? Now that I'm asking this question, I need to check out my poll. 73% of you say yes, a live read. 17 say okay, we don't love it. That's pretty strong. It's pretty strong encouragement. It means I'm taking it as you guys want me to do it, so I'm probably gonna do it. I'm probably gonna end up doing it. Anyway, please like and subscribe while you're here. I'm at 18.2, 98.2, 98.2, 1,800 away, less than 1,800 away. Less than 1,800 away. You can help put me over. I'm going to look into getting a counter. I think that's a really smart idea that Kathy had. And Kathy is, my New Jersey realtor. So, I think it was a great idea that she had. So, 18.2. Also want to give thanks to Haley. I noticed that you sent me a donation on a different platform. So I just want to say, God bless you. Thank you so much. That's my show. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. No matter what they tell you, don't listen. Don't listen. Do not eat the bugs. And with that, that's the final message of the night. You know that. It's time for me to say good night. And as always, Godspeed.